we're now living in, we are competing in, we are repeating in, we are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.
Hello and welcome to this show we're having today. My name is Maria Appelqvist, and with me today I have Erika Mikaelsson. Erika and I are going to have a conversation about great news. And this will be the first session I'm having today. I'm also having one starting in about 2 hours from now, where we will speak about leadership in the 21st century. So, but first now, it's time to introduce my good friend Erika Mikaelsson. She's the author of this book, Good News for a Change. And I and Erika, we met each other now many years ago. It was a very long time, right?
Yes, it is, but it feels like yesterday.
Yeah, and she has an enormous, amazing background as a journalist. And she was actually one of the first sports journalists, female one, in Sweden, which is quite an effort. And she was living a very happy life as a journalist. But something happened and changed, and she transitioned into a new way of living and being when she started a company called
Great People TV, actually.
Great People TV, yeah, and started a lot of projects, and that's what we're going to talk about during this hour is what is happening in media, what's the problem we have seen, and why is there a need for good news. So I'm so excited to have you, Erika.
I'm excited to be here, Maria.
Yeah. Tell me about this life transformative event that really shifted your view on your profession, the whole work you've been doing, your passion of living your life.
Then I would like to start from the beginning.
Yes.
When I think I was 8 years old, I decided to become a journalist. 8 years. And then in school we have a time when we can go and practice at real work. And so I practiced at the newspaper. And then I went on, and this was, it was nothing else for me than to become a journalist. I don't know why, because we haven't had any journalists in our family, or I didn't have any role models. But I wanted to do that. And when I started in university reading for a journalist exam, I realized that this is a way to change the world. I had the vision that if I could show all the bad things that happens in the world, then somebody could come and change it.
So you would be the voice that verbalizes everything that is bad in the world. That
and woke people up, so that somebody would listen to this or see this and say, "Oh, we can't have this, so we have to change and do good things instead of bad things," right?
That's really fascinating, because I was studying law once upon a time.
Yeah.
And I came to realize that I couldn't change the world as a lawyer. So I switched into becoming a PhD in sociology. But we had the same mission back then.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That it is.
Yeah, tell me
I haven't
more.
thought about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, but it took me about 20 years to realize that I was living a lie. Because every time we showed negative news, well, sometimes somebody came and fixed it, but then it popped up in another way somewhere else. So it never really changed in the depth.
Can I just stop you for a moment?
Yes.
Because when you're saying I realized I was living my life as a lie, and I just got shivering in my whole physical body, because I think so many people are living a lie, but they don't even realize it.
Exactly.
And here we come to the point that you actually realize it and recognize it and acknowledge it.
And changed.
Tell me what happened.
Well, first I worked in, as you said, as a sports journalist. Actually, I was the first, 1976. And then I worked in newspapers, radio, regional television, and then national television.
And that's a quite achievement, a career, to become a reporter in
all those
national media.
Because I ended up in the biggest the biggest news desk in Scandinavia.
Wow.
In Swedish television, and it was called Rapport.
Yes.
Yes. You know about that.
And the Swedish pop band, what was they called, with Per Gessle? They were singing about
Gyllene Tider.
They were singing
Times.
At that time they were singing about
the girls in TV2. Yeah. But I don't think they were singing about me. Anyway, so I worked there for 6 years. And I started out as an anchor woman for the late night news. And then I fell in love and got pregnant and stayed at home for a year. And then when I came back, I started in the morning news. And actually, before I gave birth to a child, I was I wouldn't like to say that I was cut off, but it was just like a glass shield between me and reality. So when bad things happened, of course, I thought it was terrible, but it didn't really touch me in my heart. So I held it from me to survive. To survive.
So were you keeping a distance too?
Exactly.
Don't take it in.
No.
Yes. We have an expression for it, how we numb ourselves out. From our feelings, and it's just a consequence.
Yeah, and I think there are other actually working areas where you do that, because otherwise you can't work.
No.
Anyway, so after I gave birth, I felt that my sensibility was woken up.
Yeah, they were waking.
Anyway, awaken. Thank you.
Yeah, being a mother, your senses were awakened.
Yeah. So I realized I got more sensible to things. My sensibility was, my feelings were bigger and stronger, and also my heart opened up because of the love of this child. And then I started to work in the morning news, and I realized every morning I was in charge of the foreign news, global news. So every morning at 5:30, I saw all the pictures from all the bad things that had happened in the world during the night or the evening before. And there were only bad news.
Yeah, because they weren't edited. What we actually see in television, it's edited. So you were seeing all these reports and films.
And pictures, pictures, because moving images. And I will always cherish moving images, because there is nothing that touches your heart so quickly as moving images. Still pictures are beautiful and good and informative, but moving images go straight to your heart. But they also tear your heart apart. If it's bad news, if it's terrible things, then it affects you really physically. There are studies about that. I don't remember the name of it, the university, but they have actually measured what these bad pictures, what happens in your body when you watch negative pictures. And the same thing, the opposite. So anyway, so I worked, I think it was like 2 years, or not even 2 years, 1 year, and it became harder and harder and harder for me to work. There is somebody who has said that at 5:30 in the morning you are most sensible during the whole day.
When you wake up in the morning, and that's
you are very sensitive.
Because you're open, your spirit is open, and that's why it's so good to meditate in the morning and listen to your spirits and your soul. And
but it's not
editing.
But it's not good in the morning to watch people without arms and legs and children that were dead and all those
so you just
self-suicide bombers and all those. The effects of those, I mean, we can only imagine. I saw it.
Yes.
And it almost killed me because it ended up, to make a long story short, it ended up that I sat 3 mornings or in a row crying because I could not stand these pictures anymore, these movies.
It was like, I feel like it was like your physical body was just closing off and said like, this is it. I'm not taking it anymore.
No. So there were only 2 choices. To put up the shield again. Or to quit.
And that's also like, there's like, we're standing in a road, crossroad. I have to make a choice. Either I put up my shield again and numb myself out, but now I'm awakened to my senses. So you realize this doesn't seem logical and realistic.
I realized that this was a gift. That I was crying.
Yes.
I'm almost starting to cry now, because it was very, very emotional. And a big step in my life, because all my life I wanted to be a journalist, and suddenly, like in 30 seconds, I realized I can't do this anymore.
Can we just take a pause and breathe that in? Because I think it's important to just take it in, how it feels to be in that vulnerable situation, and to I think that is what happens have been happening in our society, is that people are running and they are not making the pause for themselves, listening in, taking a deep breath, feeling the pain, feeling the vulnerability.
And also giving yourself a space to make this choice. Because we sometimes are so afraid to make choices that we do anything to avoid that. And I did that for some time, of course, because this was the height of my career. This is the biggest news desk. I mean,
it's like everything you've been looking forward to
all my life.
Like here I am in my top career, and I've achieved everything I wanted, and realizing it's painful to me.
And it's not good for me.
And it's not good for me.
And I also realized when I got home that what are we doing to people? Because this were what we were presenting in the morning news, not unedited, of course, but even edited, they were terrible news, because there was not a bright or light in sight of the news that we got during, this was Eurovision or EBU, Europe broadcasting something, I don't remember. Anyway, so this was a routine every day that we got these pictures. And I would like to say I'm so grateful to have been able to do this travel during my life, and working at Rapport, there was so much I learned, and it was so important. And during that time, all those big events happened. The Berlin wall fell down, and the Soviet Union was evolving. What do you call it? Well, it was it was vanishing.
Yeah,
anyway.
Exactly. Everything.
Yeah.
The West. Yeah, the West and Russia
and
all
the Cold War ended.
Yeah.
So there was, and also the Gulf War, and a lot of
it was
historical.
An exciting time.
Yes, it was a very. It happened a lot of things, and I'm so grateful because I was in the center. It felt like we were in the center when working on a news desk. You know, you present it, you talk about it, you learn about it, and also. But at the same time, when I had this time to, as you said, make a pause and stop, when I realized this I have to make a choice. Then I realized also, this is what we feed people. And do I want to continue doing that?
Yeah.
Also, I didn't realize it then, but afterwards I have understood. What I also felt was that I was talking about living a lie. I was living a lie because I thought I was doing good when I was telling about all those terrible things happening. But if you have heard about the law of attraction, you know that what you focus on will get bigger or expand. And that means also the negative things.
Yes.
So there were not anybody coming and fixing anything because we were showing this. Instead, it got worse.
Yeah.
And it continued.
Yeah.
And when I have realized that afterwards, I was so happy to have made that choice before it was too late. Because if you don't make choices like this, you get sick.
Yeah.
I mean, we have cancer, we have all kinds of diseases, not only this virus.
No. And we also know there is hospitals in the United States that are actually working not on giving people that come there for different illness medicine. They are actually treating their thoughts because they know it's part of our mindset. And so when we change the mindset, we become healthier in our physical bodies. Yeah. And so from that, you got a new mission and vision in your life.
Exactly, because I thought when I realized what the law of attraction was, then I realized, okay, what happens if we change the news from being only negative to becoming more constructive? I have I had that good news. I don't mean that you should not talk about the bad things that happen, but you can do it in another way.
So this is a different perspective, and I will. And you also started the TV channel Great People.
Yes, Great People TV, because this was the thing that evolved from my decision.
Yeah.
I would like to change. If I started by wanting to change the world, I would like to continue with changing journalism, and that is also a very big, big task.
It's a big task.
Yes.
But can I say something? Speak something to this good news, because I remember. I don't know if you remembered, but it's now many years ago. I've been on a. Some people call it news detox, but I didn't do it consciously. I just stopped watching television and listening to news. And then I usually walk everywhere, because you can do that in Sweden. But then it came to a point that I had to be on a train. And on the train they have a summary of the news. And
TV screens.
The TV screen. And then suddenly it was coming out to me. And I remembered how I was like, I know how I feel in my body. And suddenly I realized, I'm feeling fear and anxiety. And I noticed I got stiffness. And then I took my phone and I called you and I said, it's so important because it impacted my physical system, just listening to the news, how it was coming out to me.
And that was also what I did consciously after I quit at the Swedish television. I did not watch one TV news show during a whole year. And because I was in a bad shape when I quit. So I did not want to see anything negative because it made me feel worse. But I realized, I thought I was going to be imbecile or dumb or an outcast in the society because I didn't watch the news. But it didn't happen. And I got the knowledge of what happened that was really important, like 9/11.
Yeah.
I got that news, but not in the way that it usually give or get it. So I realized I felt better by not watching news. And that was like a wake-up call too, because then I realized that my idea was
Another analogy from this is my news detox continued, but due to the coronavirus, I've been curious. And nowadays I Google home mini, so I say, hey Google, can we get the news? I realized I got news addicted because I wanted to hear what's going on.
Exactly.
And suddenly I'm feeling my whole physical system is ending up in this kind of frustration state and really difficult to relax and stress and it comes back to me, oh my gosh, most people are not even aware of it because it has numbed our physical body.
That is why it's very good that you talk about this now, because it's so important. Nowadays, everybody want to get updates on every news show or on the radio or internet. But please, please don't do that. Of course, you do what you like, but I mean, try to be more assertive.
Preserve your energy.
Exactly.
I think because then the only thing we can control in the current situation is ourselves and our physical energy. And I think it's really important that we keep it on top level.
So please minimize it because it makes you feel worse.
So let's talk about how some good news can look like. And I think I have an example. Like check in if this is on Facebook. There was a video where they were showing people being isolated in their apartments, going out on the balconies, and they were singing and playing with each other. And then, so it was someone doing like after work, and he was singing and playing music, and then filming and zooming in all the different people in the different balconies.
Lovely.
Like that, that is an example of good news.
That
right?
is very much an example of good news.
Yeah.
And in my book, because my former colleagues, many of them did not understand my statement or my intention, because they meant that, well, then you are telling a lie, you are not letting people know what happens in the world. But I said, well, that is what you do too, because you don't let people know about the good things that are happening in the world. And it really did. I mean, I started 2010. I started Great People TV, and there I put all the videos on YouTube that I could find that were uplifting, that were positive, and that was also, I mean, an ordinary news perspective in that, and they were professionally made videos, and so it was possible. And I mean, there have been a lot of other I mean, the New York Times started also they started first of all the one good news a week, and then they made one good news every day, and I think they also had a page with good news. But then the people wanted only to read that and not the other things. So I think they have stopped that now.
Okay, you see. So there's someone.
It was too good.
And then the newspaper are complaining they're not getting subscribers.
No, exactly. So this is also a very interesting area, what happens in the media world today because of this, not only of good news, but the situation opens up to be able to questioning the old paradigms of journalism.
I love this because now we're starting to follow the structure in your book. And the first chapter is actually what is actually happening.
Yeah.
And there is a paradigm of journalism that has...
During 200 years, all the changes in media has been technical. Now, we have a possibility to change the content of media. And also in Sweden, we have been in the forefront with internet. So there we see what happens first, and then all the other countries will come after. Norway and Denmark and Finland, they are also almost the same. But anyway, I had in this book, I tell about the study made at Gothenburg University in 2013. It's a long time ago, I know, but still it showed a change. And it stated that 82% of the young people between 18 and 25 years of age did not watch news on TV or read newspapers. And they did not, but they were on internet. But they did not go there for news. No. So they found their own
sources of...
places where they wanted to know things, when they wanted to know things. So that shows, and also in Sweden we've had a lot of layoffs of journalists from newspapers. They are bleeding money every day because people don't want to subscribe anymore. And they try to go over to internet, but the problem is how do we make this capitalizing on that? It's not as easy as it has been.
How can we monetize it?
Yes. And so there is a problem in the media, and they are, what shall I say? They have not really taken my words for the truth. But I mean, they understand that they need a change, but then they don't really know how to do it. So they try to cling to the
Is
fence.
it them who are in panic, or chapter 2? They are in panic. And we see there and we hear that how they are moving to new spaces,
and shutting down
and letting go of people,
buying up. I mean, and this is actually a problem because there are big companies buying the small newspapers, and that means that we are concentrating the power of media to a few owners.
And here we should actually speak something about, because it's, from a political science perspective, media, public service media, they are supposed to be someone who's controlling the power and the elite of power in our societies. But what you're saying is actually that a lot of those have transitioned into, and they have affiliations with companies and others.
Well, what I'm saying is that, like, for instance, the news companies are owned by only a few families in Sweden. So those, I think it's 3 families now that owns almost all of the... So actually public service is a good way to consume media because they are not linked to any...
they are not supposed to be linked to
economic
interest.
No. But in the newspaper business, it's they are fewer newspapers, they are shutting down offices, and so you could say that actually it's a meltdown. Still, I don't know if it's okay, but then I always also want to say that this new situation is also a very great possibility because we have social media. And this social media that the young people switches from the traditional media to social media means that the power is spread. And the traditional media loses the power, and that is good because now the power is possible in reach for the people.
Yes, and that is what we've seen been happening. For
Exactly.
instance, in some, I think it was some, I don't remember, there was a story about a girl in a Muslim country who escaped, and she was using social media to get attention to her case. So they
Yeah.
could actually help her out. And,
And they are starting platforms where they are helping each other, and especially now during virus time, there are also platforms, you know, like started to, if you need some help to go shopping, or if you need some help to go to the pharmacy, just connect with us and we try to help you.
you are excellent on structure, I think, because now we are in the third setting. We are all producers and powerful. And actually this studio that was created and having this 4 days of broadcasting all 24 hours a day, so non-stop for 4 days, is a way of
It's wonderful.
yeah, being of
So
influence
beautiful.
and being the producer and
Yeah.
actually using your leadership to be visible and
And
whatever. Anybody could join, and it's also made on this true organic way of how we create or how we co-create together when it comes to the ultimate cause for how I
Yeah.
love organization to happen.
Yeah. Before it was the media people and the journalists who decided what you should know
Yeah.
about what's happening. Now they can't
No, they don't
decide that
No.
anymore. You decide yourself what you want to know, and then you seek and find it on the internet. And I think that is beautiful. That is actually democracy.
Yeah, it is the true democracy. So it's about getting the power back to the people.
Exactly.
So actually, and yeah, of course, can be a technical thing, but there is also, so maybe this is like this kind of citizen studio is something each community or municipality should have actually.
Absolutely.
So people could go in there, and so instead of having other people or organizations controlling it, people could go in there if they would like to speak. And
Yeah, just book a time.
book a time. That would be super great.
Yeah, it would be. It would be,
Yes.
and I think we are going to see that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You're going to see more and more of that.
Yes, and also that before it was only journalists who decided what was news.
Yes.
Today, you as a person decide what you want to know, and then that means that the news content has really changed. It wasn't me, but I mean, it doesn't matter. The importance is that news content has changed. And I wanted to have shown you, I had some beautiful clips, but it wasn't possible today, but maybe another time, from the wildfires in Australia. You saw on internet, you saw on Facebook or on YouTube, you saw these beautiful clips with kangaroo babies who came to the people, to human beings. They turned to human beings for help. And there was this lady pouring water over a kangaroo baby's paws because they were burnt. And she took care of its feet. And there was one big kangaroo, and these were wild animals, who were hugging the savior, a woman in white dress, and she didn't want to leave the woman. She was hugging her, and she didn't want to let go. And you know, this is so moving.
Yeah,
and
of
this,
course.
and I would like you, if you watch this.
Yeah, just Google it on YouTube.
Yeah, do
Kangaroo
that.
Australian hugging woman.
Yeah. Yeah, but also I want you to feel when you watch the news Be aware of what you feel and how you feel, because when you're watching negative news, you will probably feel like Maria. You feel your body stiffens and the muscles cramping.
Stressed, maybe starting to breathing up here in your throat.
And then if you see, and then you change to this kangaroo woman clip, for instance, and you watch this, and you can feel your whole body relax, and perhaps you start to cry, but that's perfect, because cry and tears cleans your heart.
Yeah. So now we're actually into the title of what energy has to do with journalists and news. And
exactly.
We were into it. Is this book, or what is his name? Again, he wrote about. He have been writing about. Oh, I actually have it in my book here. Dr. Hawkins. Have you heard of him? Yes, Dr. Hawkins. So I wrote about it in my book. He found a way how to measure the different levels of energy.
Our book, Conscious Love.
Yeah, the levels we're having, the different energy levels in our body.
Yeah.
And connected to thoughts. So, for instance, if you are under 100, so you measure under 100, you are more in the fearful, angry, resentfulness, sad. And I think love is, if it's 200, I don't remember, but it's something about you vibrate, and you can measure that through kinesiology. So it's something about when we in our frequencies are vibrating low, we are just driven by fear, and it becomes like almost like an addiction, because if that is what your system are broadcasting, then you want to have that around you.
Yeah, and also you pull it unaware of it, you pull it towards you. So you meet angry people, you meet frightened people, and
oh my God, this is like I'm writing about in my book about living in scarcity paradigm or abundance.
Yeah,
because when you're in the scarcity, you become a victim, and things happening to you, and you're exposed to news and media, and you react, and you get fear, and you have all these thoughts. You can't even control yourself.
No,
because you are in this scarcity mindset,
and you don't realize it. You don't really realize that you are doing this to yourself.
Yeah, you are actually living your life in this scarcity, and this is normal because you have no other perception of the reality.
Exactly.
And then when you enter into the abundance, I call it abundance, but where you are coming from love, so you're vibrating on a higher, so you can discern, oh, this is how it feels in my body, good news, this is how it feels in my body,
bad news.
I don't like that.
So
and
what do you want to choose?
Yeah, how do I choose? And then the more you choose what's good for you and good for your body and good for your heart, you're actually embracing the abundance.
And that is not to be selfish.
No.
Or actually it is to be selfish. You think about your inner self, but it's not selfish in the perception of that you are bad to other people. On the contrary, you are making good people, or the people around you happy. I read yesterday on Facebook there was this Indian tribe that have also in their tradition that every time something bad happened around their society or to their tribe, they chose one person to be the person of joy. And this person was just, connecting to their heart and thinking good thoughts and being happy and everything. And that person extended those feelings and those energies to everyone. And then everyone started to feel good, and then the problems dissolved.
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds like magic.
Yeah, but
it's not. It's very, very realistic.
That's really an intentional, and I imagine or organizations that actually are holding people responsible for having all these different flavors. So who wants to be joy this week?
Yeah,
Reminding
that's good.
all of us that we should have more joy.
Yeah.
And who wants to be the one who is the good problem solver this week?
Yeah.
So we can actually take this on as roles and say that this is
Absolutely.
something we take on, and it's like a costume. And
And
sometimes
why not, as you were talking about leadership, why not in companies
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm
and
thinking.
organizations?
Yeah, that's my part of my vision is that leaders have that kind of awareness, so they will think in this way.
Good. Yeah, and we were talking about energy.
Yeah.
And well, I learned after I quit as a news journalist, I started to meditate and open up for my spiritual journey. I started that journey, and that made me realize that there are energies in words, and that we are energy, and we are like radio transmitters.
Yes.
So when we use words with a low energy, then we send the low
Yes.
energy out. And when people are talking to us in a low energy, we feel it.
Yeah.
And we are like transmitters.
Yeah, and there is research around that with water. Dr.
Masaru Emoto.
Yeah,
Yes.
he wrote this book. You probably have heard about it, but if you haven't, it's very fascinating to see how he was taking water and froze it, but before he was freezing it, he was playing music, different kind of music.
Yeah.
So, and it found out when there was like Mozart music and beautiful music, it became very beautiful crystals of the
Yes.
water. But when there was more heavy metal
rock,
and
yeah.
more that kind, it becomes really ugly,
Distorted.
yeah. And there was something beautiful I heard that was said in a leadership conference in Egypt when they were hearing these news about water and say, now we understand why we are praying when we are washing our hands and feet before we're going into the mosque.
Yeah.
Because it becomes a way of sending your
Healing
energy to the water.
Holy water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy water.
And let me also say that words, he also, this Mr. or Dr. Masaru Emoto, he also used words to the water.
Yes.
So he had a jar where he said, "You fool, you
Yes.
idiot," and war. And then he had another jar with water where he said love and co-creating and
Grace.
hugging and peace. And then he made this freezing procedure, and the water with the negative words, they were just like heavy metal. It was distorted, and peace and all the love. And the funniest thing was that he did it in different languages.
Yes.
So it didn't matter what kind
language.
of language it was. It had the same energy.
That's really fascinating. It's really fascinating. And I know I have a lot of colleagues in the Western world society who say, oh, we don't believe in that. Or it's like, because it feels like we don't understand the science, which I think, again, is we have such divisions about how we perceive science and what is good science. And now I'm talking about being a scientist myself. Social scientist, is that we have so many different perspectives on understanding science. And in some way, we in the Western world have taken the kind of word for that we are representing the good science. And in the eastern part of the world, it's no good science. And there is a lot of, in particular when it comes to the field of energy and energy medicine, there is a lot of research around this, because of course it's part of their culture to honor the physical body and honor your energy, because it's the living.
And science is catching up with what
now
like
Western-
the
Western
indigenous
science,
like the indigenous people has
Yes.
known for thousands of years.
Yeah, and Western science is catching up. And I would like to go back to what you were saying about it's not selfish. I mean, of course, I mean, who is going to care about you? You.
Exactly.
So you have to be protective about yourself and how you use your energy. And
So we should be more selfish.
yeah,
Because then we can help more people.
yeah, exactly. So it's first when
And
I'm
inspire.
feeling good. When I'm feeling good and great, I'm actually doing a great impact on other people. If I'm
Exactly.
not feeling good and great, other people will suffer. I
That's
guess.
no good.
So I'm happy with. I don't have anyone who can complain about that. But if you're in a relationship, you maybe have someone who might mirror you on that. So okay, so good news. And common misconceptions. There's misconception about
Yeah, the misconception about good news is, like I probably said a little bit
Yeah.
before, that it's just, you know, ducks, small ducklings walking over the street, and you know, all those, you know, kind of soft news.
because of something.
Yeah, and not really hard news.
Yes.
And also that I said, my colleagues also, some of my colleagues said, well, then you're lying to people. If you only talk about good news, then they won't know the reality. They won't know what happens in the world, and people need to know that. But that's what I also said now before, that is not actually true, because if you only have negative news, you don't let people know about all the good things that happens in the world. For instance, when I had this web TV channel, there was one story about farmers in South America who had found that if they planted different plants next to each other, they did not have to use pesticides at all.
Ah,
And that is good news, right?
yes.
And that is something that would inspire other farmers to, oh, maybe we can do that, you know, and that
Yes, yeah.
that creates a good ripple. So I think that is a very big misconception, that good news is just, you know, Pollyanna things.
Yeah.
But they are really, I mean, we suffered, and many thousands suffered from the tsunami in 2004 in Asia. And Sweden had a big impact of people, many Swedes died there. And so we had reporters out there. And there was this one reporter, he made it really strong. I remember it still, even if it's like, what is it, 16 years ago?
Yes.
And he interviewed a man, and he was a big man,
Yeah.
you know, very masculine man. And I don't know if he was a farmer or something. And he said, you know, me and my wife, we only had our 90s on, and we ran up in the mountains because the wave was coming, and there we met this family, and they were so poor, and the man in the family, he only owned 2 shirts, and he gave the clean one to me, and this big man started to cry.
Oh.
And then he said, you know, this accident has actually made me realize so many things, that there are so many things that are important that I didn't realize before. And now we have friends, and they are going to come and visit us in Sweden, this poor family.
Yeah.
And we are going to help them. And we are going to, you know, be friends for life.
Yes.
So that story was really hard news, you know. Or I also watched a story on YouTube, you can Google it, saving a baby. There was a big, what do you call it, earthquake
Yes.
in Turkey some years ago. And they found, I think it was 5 weeks old, a baby, and it was prematured.
Ah.
And they found this baby alive. and they rescued it, and it was big news on ABC News in the United States. And then the day after, they rescued the mother. They found her alive, and actually the grandmother too. So this was a really, really sweet and wonderful story. And this is hard news, you know. So, so I mean, it's wrong to say
you can report about volcanoes
and devastating things,
devastating things,
but you focus on the positive side. It demands more work from the journalists, but it's worth it.
Yeah. And I know that was one of the part of also your ambition. You went to Uganda for educating children to
young poor women.
Yeah, young poor women. But were they also children to mothers who had a disability, or
no? They were children to mothers, but they were young women. Yeah. They were like in their 20s up to 30, and there were 8 of them. And I wanted to teach them to make news.
To positive give them the tools so they could create their own news.
And also they could earn money from that and get out of poverty. But it was the situation that I applied for money from SIDA or help the government organization. And actually, it happened a terrible thing exactly the month where I have applied for money. It was a story about that the leaders in Uganda, the prime minister and his gang, they were really corrupted, and they had taken a lot of aid money for themselves. So SIDA cut off all all support. So we didn't get any money, but we had the possibility to teach these young women, and you should have seen them grow. We were only there for 2 weeks, but they understood everything, and I got rid of a very important prejudice, because I thought, oh, these are poor people from Africa, you know, so they don't know so much about this modern technique. But that was really wrong. I mean, sometimes they didn't have money for food, but everybody had a mobile phone or a cell phone.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so they knew the technique very well, sometimes even better than me. And that made it very easy for me to teach them. I don't know if anybody of them
are still doing it.
But it was a very
it
good
was something
experience.
About you were giving them tools, something they could have. They would have.
Don't give them fish. Give them a fishing pole.
Exactly. So they can help themselves.
Exactly.
So then we are to. I think we are talking about the people and the newspaper dead and long live the news.
Yeah, well, in Sweden we have, as I said, a lot of newspaper who has been cutting down personnel, and also newspaper who has been quitting. And also, as I said, we also have seen big media companies buying up smaller newspapers, local newspapers. And in this book, I am saying, well, first of all, I think I don't want anybody to suffer. I don't want anybody to lose their job. But I think this is the opportunity for change in media. And if they can think in another way, and if they can change the content in media, I think this could be very good. And also, I think there is a possibility also for making new arrangements around how to present news. I mean, there were news that was it was almost like a a script, and everybody used the same script when they made news. Now we have a possibility to do news in another way, with other with a new content, but also present it in a new way. So I think this is a big opportunity, and it's a big opportunity for great change.
Yeah. Now we are coming to a big question, and this is because that's, I know you've been thinking about it because you have it as a subheading. Well, what is the role of gender in all this?
Yeah, the role of gender. What really surprised me when I made the research for this book was that there are shamefully few women who has the power of media. And that was also one of the reasons I wanted to go in and educate women in Africa, because we in Sweden think we have such good equality between genders, and we are really good guys.
We are leading the way.
Right.
Good and bad.
I think it is the UN. I don't remember what it was called, the organization, but every 5 years they make a big research how their the public looks. I mean, what are the people who watch media, but also who are controlling media. I mean, in gender wise, and it was it was so depressed. It was like 27% of the global media is either owned or reporting or interviewed in media. 27%. I mean, 73% is male. It's a man's word still. But in Sweden we were better. Whole 24%. We were actually worse. Yeah.
And this is
sorry. It was the opposite. It was the 24 in the world and 27 in Sweden.
Yeah, so we were a little better.
A little bit better.
But not and
that was too little. I thought it would be like 40, 60 at least in Sweden. But it wasn't.
No, and often you see that. So it's also something about, so when we're speaking about good news, great news, and the whole message here, it comes also from something about, it comes from the heart, right? And when we talk about, if you take it deeper, it's like the male, the masculine, and the female, the feminine, the different energies. We're talking about energies and not roles. It's representing different things. So while the masculine is very much about direction and focus and problem solving, the feminine, like the true essence of feminine, is heart-based, intuitive feeling. So there is also something about that, because if media and the news has been dominated by men,
still is,
and they are also controlling what's going to be broadcasted, it's sort of natural what we're going to have, right?
Exactly. The interesting is that when I released this book, I call it Good News. There was this male editor of Danish news. He also released a book, but then he called it constructive news.
Constructive news.
And
but
feel the feeling of good news. And then you say constructive news. I mean, it's very hard. Yeah. The energy is really hard, but good, that it makes you happy.
It makes us, so
I think that is why it's more feminine to say good news. And it's more masculine to say constructive news.
Yeah, exactly. It's been a really fascinating conversation we had.
Yeah.
And having 1 hour talking about good news. We were saying from the beginning, how are we going to fill this?
Yes.
Is it possible? But we are actually, we have almost made it, Erika.
Wow,
Isn't that?
that's fascinating.
Even though we didn't manage to showcase
No.
the YouTubes,
No,
but I know you can
you
find,
can Google
find
it,
and I hope also that
search for it.
you will, like, this becomes a eye opener to start this what media is telling
Yeah.
you and how they are telling you.
And also be aware. Don't believe everything you see on media, and don't believe everything you see and read and watch on social media. Because one thing that is good with the old-fashioned media is that somebody has actually controlled the facts as much as you can. Not always 100%, but as much as you can. But what you get out on Facebook or social media, you can't always be certain that this is the truth. There could be somebody else who wants you to know this and wants you to react on that, and you know. So be aware. Don't spread news unless you really, really know that this is true. You have to act like a journalist there to be assertive.
I think that is part also the whole new social media landscape.
Yeah.
Since everybody can basically run their own studio and create their own newspaper that looks like a newspaper
Or TV.
TV, and they can broadcast from their perspective, which means it's just, I would say, we have an opening of different perspectives.
Yes.
And for me, who is a sociologist, I'm trained into the natural, to think in different perspectives. So you know, you take on new glasses, you see something new, and that's to see a new perspective. And most people are not trained into having that kind of educated eye. So they see, so they take it for truth.
Yeah,
Because-
they're talking about fake news, and fake news is. I don't really like that word because it's judgmental.
Yeah.
And you don't know if what the person that talks about fake news really mean. So just be intuitive and control the facts. There are some sites, you can Google them, that are truth seekers or fact controlling, and you can every time you read something and you're not really sure if this is the truth, then you can check it out on fake. It's also fake news. I think there is a site, so you can check it out if it is wrong or right.
That's good. So basically, as a citizen, you have to be more
Assertive.
And to discern
critical.
and critical. Have your own critical mind to see and evaluate.
And also responsible, because it's irresponsible to share things that are not true, especially if there are rumors. There are a lot of rumors now in the virus time, and don't share it unless you know it's the fact.
Exactly. What we do know is we obviously have a virus.
Yeah, that's true.
That seems to be, even though. Okay, so we are almost ending, and I want to just first say thank you so much, Erika, for giving your time and being here with me and doing this with me. It was fun.
It was really fun.
Yeah, and we are going to hang on, and we're going to take a walk and coming back, because later I will continue with conversations with some really amazing people, and we will do this as a Zoom meeting because they are in other cities and in Sweden, in their homes, and they can't,
we have 1 meter.
yeah, we can't, they can't attend here.
No.
So we will talk about leadership in the 21st century. So I really hope you want to join me. My name is Maria Appelqvist, and my friend is Erika Mikaelsson. And if you like to know more about what we do, I'm sure you can Google our name and you will find all the information needed.
And also on Facebook.
And also on Facebook. Yes, feel free to connect. connect with us.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Finito.
We were good, right? And perfect in time
We are
also.
creating
What did
the
I
world
say?
we're now living in. We are competing in. We are repeating in. We are believing in. It's time for us to shift our mind from best in the world to best for the world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. It creates a new world to mind a shift, intentionality, perceptuality, conceptuality. We are choosing to shift our mind to best for the world, best for our world. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional. Make decisions intentional, to take decisions intentional, making decisions intentional.